All right, real estate investors. Today we're going to talk about one of the most scary things for new investors, the numbers. In this module, we're going to cover after repair value, determining repair estimates, and the calculations on how you come up with your offer prices. Now, the reason why this is scary for most investors is because it's something new for you, for them. And you don't know for sure, you don't feel comfortable yet doing it. And that's okay to not feel comfortable. You have to keep doing this. You have to keep practicing. You have to keep running numbers to feel more and more comfortable with this. That's just the way this business works. So don't worry about feeling uncomfortable with it. We're going to go through this module, and you can rewatch this video multiple times. At the bottom of this video module is going to be more homework for you to do and sample problems for you to work on to help determine your ARV. And ARV is your after repair value. Now, a lot of people say they have a secret formula. You know, there's a rule on how to get all the offers and all the properties you want. It's just not the way the world works. There is no secret formula. And it just doesn't work that way. Every house is different. So how can you have one formula that works to find properties? It just doesn't work that way. It's simple math. It's adding, subtracting, and multiplying and dividing. That's all we do in this business. It's simple math. It's stuff that my third grade son does in his school. So remember that. Don't be afraid. You can do this. It's just numbers and simple math. The issue with overcomplicating things is that it just adds to that scariness factor of things. You don't want to do that. And we are a team, we're a network, we're a system, we're a group, all of us together. So as you progress in your real estate investing career and go through this system, reach out to people. Reach out to people on your Facebook group page. Email each other. Work on a buddy system. Double check each other's numbers. It's what you should do. It's safety. We preach safety in this system. We don't want anybody to get hurt, and that's the way these numbers are set up. It's set up that way for you. So now, the most important number of any real estate transaction, some people will say it's your offer price or it's the repairs, but what it comes down to, it's your after repair value, the ARV. Now that's a real estate investing lingo, ARV. If you're talking to new investors, wholesalers, realtors, and you say, "Oh, I'm trying to find out what the ARV is on this property," a lot of them are going to be like, "What's that?" Or they'll say, "Oh, okay," but they don't really know what you're talking about. ARV. It's a term you should use, especially when you're talking with hard money lenders, private lenders, people that are in this business. It shows that you know the business, you know the lingo, you know what you're talking about. ARV, that's what we say. So you say it now too. It really is the most important number. It's where we start. Now, a lot of systems have inaccurate ways to determine an ARV. Now, the thing about an ARV is there's no 100% correct answer. That's just not the way the world works. If I think a house is going to sell, if the data shows me the house is going to sell for 300,000, and it ends up selling at 295 or 305, that was pretty close. That's going to be okay. 5,000 swing on that. It's not going to kill your deal because you're going to have enough profit to make that work. But there's plenty of wrong answers for an ARV. If someone said, "Wow, that there's one listing that's really similar at 340,000, I'm going to list mine at 340, and that's my ARV," but it only sells at 300. 340 was definitely a wrong answer. So I'm going to show you how I use ARV, how I determine ARV, what I use, so that I have, and it's the way I do it. I haven't lost any money on properties in the last 6 years investing this way. It's safety. It's the right way to do it. We don't average properties. We don't go with the highest listing, and we don't go on somebody's feeling or gut instinct that, I can sell this house all day long for $400,000 for you, says Mr. Realtor. But then when you ask for comps, comparable sales, the highest one is $320,000. We don't go on feelings. We go on data, the numbers, the proof. Remember, we don't put emotion into this business. It's all about the numbers. And we don't use websites like Zillow or Redfin and their estimates on value. That's not what we do. Remember, we use the multiple listing service, realtors, the database that has the most data in it to determine our values. So let's really get into this. I mentioned comparable sales. So really, what is a comparable sale? A comparable sale is a property that is similar in appeal, features, size, and location to your property. It's an apple to your apple. It's a similar property. Now, a lot of people say when they're looking at properties, different deals, they say, I can't find any comparable sales. Well, guess what? You don't have an ARV. If you don't have any proof, move on to the next deal. It's safety. So a comparable sale is basically just a similar property that is recently sold and is in similar condition and has similar features. Now, how do you determine if a property is comparable? Because a lot of people use different ways, and this is the way I use, and this is the way I want you to use, because it's what our program teaches. It has to be a sale that closed in the past 180 days, preferably in the last 90 days. The more recent, the better, because it's showing you what the current market conditions are doing. So a sale that closed in the past 180 days. And notice, it's a sale. It's not a listing. It's not a contingent sale or a pending sale. It's a closed sale. Everything else is a hope and a dream. A closed sale is a fact. And number 2, a remodeled or well-maintained move-in ready property. Your flip property is going to be fixed up. It's going to be looking nice. If I'm looking at my comparable sales, I'm looking for other ones that have similar appeal, similar features as mine. Not everything is going to be the same, but you want to find an apple to your apple. Sometimes your apple might be a Macintosh and the other one's a Granny Smith. But if they look the same, a house that a homeowner has lived in for the last 15 years, now that's not going to be a flip, right? But if they've lived in it for the last 15 years, and let's say every year they took on another project, they continually maintained the property, they upgraded it here and there, they fixed stuff that got broken, that's going to be similar to your flip property. So that's a good comparable sale. That's the things you want to look for. It's not necessarily just other flips. And it has to be similar in design. So design is 1-story, 2-story, 3-story, townhouses, condos. They have to be the same. Again, apple to apple comparison. You don't compare an apple to a banana. They're two different things. An apple will never turn into a banana. So remember that analogy. We want sales that have similar market conditions, similar market features. If somebody is in some people like to say school zone, right? If it's within a mile, it's typically within the same school zone, or you get just a little bit of a halo effect around that similar school zone, it works. So within a mile, it cannot be over a major highway, natural divider. Natural dividers are things like lakes, rivers, canyons, things where you have to drive around to another area, and it's completely out of the way. If you're local to the markets, you will really know if one area is different from the other. If you can't jump over Owens Avenue because it's a completely different neighborhood on that side of the street, don't take your comps from the other side just to get a higher value. You have to look where your buyers are looking, and that's typically within a tight range, within a mile. And now there are some communities that are spread out, and you might have to go a little bit more than a mile to find them, but you better not be spreading your search criteria on the other things, meaning that the appeal should still be the same, the feature should be the same, it should be a recent sale. You don't want to stretch these too thin, because then you start finding you're not getting accurate ARVs. Within 15% of your living area. Now, the living area of a house is the area that is heated and cooled. It's where you live. It does not include your garage, enclosed patios, porches, any of that. We're talking strictly living area. Your living room, bedroom, bathrooms, kitchen, all of those areas that are under the roof. Now, when I say within 15% of living area, what that equates to, if I have a 2,000 square foot house, I would be looking at a range of potential comparables from 1,700 square feet up to 2,300 square feet. Anything within 1,700 to 2,300 square feet is going to be a similar comparable to my 2,000 square foot house. It's the way appraisers look at properties. It's the way that buyers really look at properties. If I'm looking to buy a 2,000 square foot house as a homeowner, I'm not going to also look at 3,000 square foot houses. It really doesn't work that way. It's within 15% of the living area. That's the range that we look for. And they have to be sold in the MLS, not a private sale with minimal data. Some people will pull comps or what they think are comps from the county record or recorder's office, and they won't have any of the data on the property besides a sales price. That's not good enough. We want properties that sold in the MLS, have pictures, have data, have proof of what they were, how they sold, and how they compare to our property. Now, I don't just want one of these comparable sales. I want at least 3 of them, 3 properties that are very similar to mine. Because if I have 3, I know that this type of property is accepted within the marketplace and it's desirable within the marketplace. If I have comparable sales that range from 190, 200, 180, I'm not going to have an ARV above that top sale of 200. I'm not going to say, well, those all sold pretty fast, so I can sell at 220. You don't have proof for it. Don't stretch it. If it sells for more, gravy, awesome, congratulations. Don't plan for it. Be safe. That's the way to do it. And you want to make sure that your properties, again, apple to apple comparison, really think about that when you're looking at properties. You cannot make a 1-story house into a 2-story house. You can with added construction, but if you're not doing that in your scope of work, that should not be one of your comparables. A single-family home is not the same as a townhouse. A condo is not the same as a manufactured home. These are bananas and mangoes. We want apple and apple, okay? Keep it similar, keep it the same, and that's how you do this safely. I see so many people stretching comparables. Wholesalers send properties over and say, hey, look at these three comparables I have for this property. Active listing, and then another property that has that golden toilet in it. It has everything you could hope for and want in a house, and then everything on top of it also. And it's just not the same as yours. It will never be the same. And you cannot use that as a value comparable. It doesn't work. It should be something that's similar. Now not the same, because not every house is going to be boom, 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 all exactly the same. It's not the way the world works. Even when we have communities that are newer tract-built communities where they're built by a single builder who goes in and builds 200 houses, and they have 5 different floor plans. If it's the same floor plan, 1422 square feet, let's say, though we call that a model match. But even if it's a model match, it's still going to have differences. It's going to have differences in upgrades, condition, lot size, views, a lot of different things. There's no 2 houses that are exactly the same. They're at different locations. One side of the street gets more sun. Somebody backs up to a 2-story house that looks down into their 1-story house. All different scenarios happen. You have to take a look at these and really consider them when we get into comparable sales. So let me show you what this actually looks like. When we're dealing with realtors and they're sending us our comparable sales, we say, let's figure out what it looks like. So I got a little example here for you. And in this example, I want you to really take a couple minutes here and try not to restart my computer. So in this example, your property is number 8 on the list, 340 South Mallard Street. What is your ARV? Now, if you look at this, this is a snapshot out of the multiple listing service, the MLS. And this is the basic information on a property. It's a stat line of it, statistic line of it. If you look at the top header, we have ML number, the MLS number, ML number. That's just how that property is tracked within the MLS. Don't worry about that. Every property is different. Don't refer to properties by ML numbers. Some realtors do that. You won't remember an ML number. You will remember a street name like Mallard Street. Next is area. Area, AR, and these are all in area 402. Don't worry about that. Areas is, again, another way for the MLS to break a city out into different sections so it can run statistics on a individual market. Now that next field, ST, that doesn't stand for street, that stands for status. And if you look, we have different statuses. We have S, and then at the bottom we have C. S stands for sold, C is contingent, and then we'll have other ones such as P for pending, T for temporarily off market, and then active listing. Sometimes you'll see this as an A for active, or you'll see ER is exclusive right. That just basically means that the property is available. And then exclusive agency, EA. Different MLSs across the country note them differently. Just ask your realtor what the different individual letters mean if you don't know. But that's typically S is sold. H is history. So if it's beyond a year, typically an MLS will keep that data and just mark it as H for history. C is contingent. P is pending. Active, A, or active also can be ER or EA. Address, pretty straightforward. Unit number, if you're in condos or townhouses, sometimes you'll have a unit number. Your price. Now, in this MLS, that is actually the sale price, not the listing price, but the actual sale price. Building description, 1 story. This would also say things like 2-story or ranch or row home, depending on what part of the country you're in. The subject type, SFR, SUB for sub, and then SFR is single family residential. SFR, it's a single family home. Square footage total. Now, some MLSs will include garages into a field called total living area. In this setup that I have here for you, square footage total is the total living area only. Then BD for bed. After that is bath, garage. PL is pool. SPA, spa, pool, spa. And then year built is after that. And the actual close dates. And then DOM, the days on market. This is a common way for realtors to send you properties where it's going to look something very similar to this. It's a 1-line grid, and that's the way you really want to have it sent to you, especially when you can click on the links, because you can have all the pictures right there, maps right there for you, so you can see what's going on with the properties. Now, again, in this example, our property is number 8. If we look at it, the first thing I'm looking at, we're going to pretend we have this property under contract. It's contingent right now. It's contingent at a list price of $130,000, and the square footage of our property is 1,544 square foot. So I'm sure while I've been talking, you guys have already been browsing through the comparables, trying to figure out what the ARV is, and that's good. That's what you want to do. The 1,544, you're going to see that number pop up here a couple times. You can see it on number 1, and you can see it on number 7. So when we're really looking at this, let's take it a little bit further. That number 7 sold at $108,000. Number 1 sold at $172,500. That's a big range on that model. But take a look at the address. It's the same property. That's a flip. Right there in this sheet, it shows one of our comps. So that sale number 1 is a perfect comp. Now, what I would have you do then is click on the photos and go through it to make sure that it looks like it's fixed up and everything. But that shows you that number 1, properties are still in the MLS. You can find them, and then you can flip them for profit. That's what this guy did, South Mallard Street. So when I'm looking at this, I'm not putting my ARV at 172.5. I'm putting it at 170,000. I'm giving myself a little wiggle room there. Again, if we sell it for more, gravy, awesome. have a little party, enjoy it. Sale number 1 is a model match, same square footage. Sales number 4 and 6, when we look at those, because those were the little bit higher ones. Sale number 1 sold at 181, 6 sold at 205. Some people, some realtors would say, oh, properties over here are selling at 205,000. But hang on, that house was built in 1993. It is not going to be an apple to your house that's built in 1960. It's important that you look at all of this data. Now, again, you're just comparing things, and keep in mind that apple-to-apple comparison. Is my 1960 house ever going to look just like that 1993 house? No, it's not. All right, we're going to do another example here. Your property is number 11 on the list. It's 10598 Pueblo Springs Street. So what's your ARV on this one? Now, this is a little bit newer community. If you look, these ones were built between 2002 and 2005. The square footage range is within that 15% that we're looking for. The building description, they're all 2 stories. They're all similar in appeal. Now, you'll see some that are 4-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. Ours is a 3-bedroom. But in that same square footage range, and even some of these are the same model with different bedroom counts in them, a 2-bedroom house might have 2 bedrooms and a den. Functionally the same. Don't worry too much about that. As long as it's that tight square footage, you're going to be okay. So when we look at this one, the sales go all the way up to 205,000. The most recent sales, 200, 202, 202. Those are the most recent sales are the ones at the top. We have this sorted by the actual closing date. Sales 4, 6, and 7 are all model matches. And these ones sold at 195, 189.9, 192. Now I'm putting this ARV at 195. It's the top of the model matches, but I look at the most recent sales at 200, 202, 202, and they're within similar square footage. The one is 56 square feet difference. It's basically the same house, same design, same location, everything. I can probably sell this house for 200, maybe even 205 after it's fixed up. But when I'm running my numbers, when I'm determining what I can actually pay for this house, I know this house will sell for at least 195,000. 195 is my ARV. Safety. I'm going to do one more here. In this case, our property is number 10, 3731 Krellen Circle. Now, whenever I do these, whenever I'm speaking somewhere and I pull up these stats, it's amazing how many deals I actually find, whether it's new ones that I put an offer on or that I actually see somebody else has gotten locked up in whatever MLS system I'm looking at. And this is a perfect example that there are flips in the MLS deal. Same with the first example we did where we actually saw somebody that had sold one or bought one and then sold it within a 6-month time frame. There are flips in the MLS. You just have to know how to find them. And we're going to go through all that. So Krellen Circle is ours on this one. 1,437 square feet. Now, as we're looking through these comps, this one's a little more diverse than the last two. Our sales range on this goes from 155,000 all the way up to 238,000. That's a pretty big range. And remember, we don't average sales together. We don't take a median. We don't go with the highest sale. That's just not the way it works. We want to find the most similar. We want to find the apple to our apple. Now, as we're looking through these first 6 sales, they all have something in common. They all have a pool. Now, this is in Las Vegas, and it gets hot in Vegas. People enjoy their pools in Vegas. That pool has added value. Now, if you're in Minnesota, I've had people tell me that pools don't add value there. Some of them still add value depending on your neighborhood. But anything that you can think of that somebody might pay extra for, that's added value. A view of a golf course, a view of the city skyline. These additional things beyond the square footage and room counts. A bigger garage. If we look at sale number 7, that one doesn't even have a garage. Everyone else has a 2-car garage. So this one, You're going to run across this where it's like the numbers are all over the place. Where do I go? You still want to find the apple, the most similar property. And in this case, the most similar property really is sale number 9, that oldest sale. It's it doesn't have a pool, same age built. It's about 150 square feet larger, and it's sold at $181,000. Now that 150 square feet larger adds more value. We know that people pay more for bigger houses. It's the way the world works. It's value added features. Do I go and look up at the pool ones? You can ask your realtor, and the realtor is going to say, oh, that pool in that neighborhood might add about $20,000 in value. What if it only adds 10? What if it adds 35? You don't want to just go off opinions. You want to go off facts. For this house, our property on Crellin Circle, my ARV, I'd put it at $175,000. And that's a little bit safe because I'm looking at the most similar property, the apple to my apple, that sale number 9 at $181,500. It's a little bit bigger. I'm going to sell this house for $175,000. I look at the properties that have pools, and they're selling at $189,000, $216,000, $219,000, $218,000. There's that one oddball at $155,000. If you see an outlier, you don't want to just dismiss it. You want to take a look at it. When you take a look at that one on Winter Drive, you're going to see that it was a property that needed repairs. It sold low. It sold below its market value if it was fixed up. So that one you can kind of throw out. You have to look at these sales. You have to look at aerial views to see if they back up to a junkyard or if they back up to a graveyard. But they might back up to a lake or a river. They might have the golf course. All different things. You have to do your research on the properties to figure out why there's differences in prices. So on this one, $175,000. Sale number 9 is the most similar. 1 through 6 all have pools. 3 is low. Check the pics. You got to figure out why a property is an outlier. Now, sometimes we might look at that 238 and say, oh, wow, that's the top of the market. That's an outlier. Let me figure that out. Maybe that's the only flip. You look at the rest of the sales and you see that all of them had no repairs done to them, and they're just kind of old and dated. Now, I'm not going to jump to the top of a range, but I'm going to consider all that and put your numbers safely. Your ARV is the most important number in this business. It's where everything starts from. It's where your offers start from. It's how you secure your private investors on your deals. Your ARV has to be solid, and it has to have proof. It's your responsibility to come up with the ARV. It's not the realtor's responsibility. It's not the wholesaler's responsibility. It's yours as the real estate investor. And it's going to take time to come to a comfort level with that responsibility. You're going to have to analyze a lot of deals. We're going to put samples out here for you within the membership site, and also within the forum. We'll throw samples out there for you so you get more and more practice with this. If you don't understand why we came up with an ARV, ask us. We want to help you. You have to understand this to be safe in your investing. Take a look at the photos of your property. Make sure that the comps you're looking at can be a apple-to-apple comparison. Go onto Google and do the street view maps of those, of the subject and the comps. You can spin around, you can drive the neighborhoods, check out what the difference is on these properties. If they don't look the same, if they're not conforming, maybe that lowest sale was a dome home, or a TP or something crazy. It just didn't conform, and that's why it sold low. But then maybe that one that was sold high, that the last one at $238,000, maybe you take a look at that one and you look at the pictures and you see, oh, it has a guest house in the back, another 1,000 square foot, 2-bed, 1-bath item. Think somebody's going to pay more for that? They do. So you really have to do as much research as you can on it, but you want to do it fast. You want to do it so that you're not missing out on deals and spending all your time in the computer or in the pictures or out in the field looking at properties. You get more comfortable with it. You move faster with it as you do more of these. So there's always reasons why properties sell for more or less. You just have to be able to find them. You don't rely on your realtors, your wholesalers to determine ARV. It's your job. And we're out. Scott.